Another chilly morning. So I've got the roof structure basically done. Just to cut the sides at the front end of the building and put the edges on. But what I'm going to do now though is add some more of these horizontal supports. I was just adding enough for me to get the lines before, but now I'll put in a few more to strengthen everything up. And earlier I misspoke. I don't know if you noticed, but I was talking about getting these supports down onto this bowed log. And I said there was an 8 centimetre gap, so that I would drop it 4 centimetres at the back and 4 centimetres at the front. Which obviously makes no sense, because that's just 4 centimetres. When I realised that, the way I decided to go was I dropped these two central supports by just 2 centimetres at the front. And I think it was just about 5 centimetres at the back, something like that. I'd realised that to actually get these down onto here would mean sinking way too much into that end of that log. Same over there, obviously, because that 2 centimetre drop there, it increases with each of those supports, so that the last one is not quite halfway through. And that's what I wanted to avoid, going more than halfway through that log, because it's structurally very important. Anyway, so I failed to get this down onto here, so as well as adding these horizontals, I'm also going to add some vertical pieces here to get these beams resting onto this. I'll show you how I do that. I'm going to put on a piece that's overlong. I'm going to take the scriber and scribe the bottom, cut that, and then drop it back in, trim off the excess. But that's today's job, is to get this roof strengthened up with horizontals and vertical supports where they're needed and where it's possible. Everywhere where I can put something in, I will put something in. I'm also probably going to fill in all the way along that back wall with some of these. And the way I'll do that is I will place it in, find out what the height difference is here, set the log scriber and draw the bottom of it, take it out, cut that off, put it back in. You'll see what I mean. Ooh, it's cold. Another thing, I made a couple of mistakes. You've probably noticed I started that 45-degree angle too early at first, so I had to put in a little piece to replace the piece I'd cut off. And I also forgot that support there should have been a double support at that end, so the knot should have been twice as wide. But as of course the next phases of this roof, once I've got it strengthened up, is to put boards on. And fixing that problem is going to be much easier once I've got boards up to about here, so I can stand on that. So I'll fix that then. No big deal. Okay. So I'm up here on the roof, and here we've got that bowed log that I keep talking about. I'm putting these verticals in with the spirit level, making sure they're vertical, and then I'm going to sink them down. I don't need to take a lot off, that's about right. I just take them all by the same amount, just to shape the bottom of these pieces. Then obviously drop it down, screw it in, and trim the tops off. With all of these, there's 6 of them. So I'm going to drop those 6 little verticals, and I had a couple of comments asking me to explain the scribing process better. Now obviously I'm not scribing logs, I'm not doing the lateral grooves, the horizontal grooves and the notches, but the scribing is exactly the same for this as it would be for a log. So what's essential is to set up a perfectly vertical straight line, and that's what I've done here. I've put a piece of wood on here which is perfectly vertical this way, and then I've found a perfect vertical this way, and I've drawn that line. Drew it with a knife as well as a pencil, so there's a little groove here which I know is perfectly vertical in all directions. Now I've decided how much I'm going to drop these pieces by, that much. So I use that vertical line now to calibrate by setting up these spirit levels on the back. Now the spirit level moves this way and also this way. So I have to get it set up in both directions so that both of these spirit levels are perfect when I put the 2 points of the scriber in that line. So I'll do that. So now I've got it set, which means that these 2 points are always going to be vertically, the pencil's always going to be perfectly vertical above this point. So when I run that along the contour of a log, this will draw onto the log above, if we're doing logs, or in this case onto those little posts. So let's get this drawn. So as you can see, as time goes on, my choice of camera angles is not getting any better. You've got a perfect view of my back as I draw these lines. So we've got 3 days of rain coming. What I actually need to do next is to paint the tar onto the tops of all the walls, because it's going to be impossible to get to once the roof's on. And today the frost has never actually dissipated. It hasn't thawed out, so there's a little layer of frosty ice on some of the top of some of those logs, so I can't paint it. So just covering everything up, and after these couple of days, 2 or 3 days of rain, I can come back and hopefully then I'll be able to paint the tops of the walls and start putting the boards on. I'm starting doing the bottom boards, even though I haven't cut the front line of the roof, because once I've got some boards on there and I can stand on there, it's going to be much easier to do that. So that's the plan. So it's going to be at least a couple of days break, maybe 3. I'll keep an eye on the weather, but we've got it all protected now. So I'm heading home for a cold beer. So with the roof structure done, I'm now going to paint the upper logs with the pine tar solution, because that would be really difficult to do once the roof is in place. And then it's time to put the boards on the roof. This is pretty simple. I'm not going to bore you with the details. Let's just get this done.
So the roof's over halfway done, so I can't avoid it anymore. I'm going to have to establish the line of the front edge of the roof. So I'm going to get the chalk line out now and figure out where I'm going.